Okay, welcome back to my channel. This is part 3 of my small business negotiation course. If you missed part 1 or 2, you'll find the links to that in the show notes. In part 1 of the course, I shared my experiences as a university instructor. I said that women in my class often do quite well in the negotiation simulation exercise we offer, but only once they get into it. I want to tell you a little more about that as I introduce the next topic, which is the blind spots that sabotage us and prevent us from even thinking that we can negotiate. They encourage limiting beliefs that affect us even when we are in the middle of our negotiations. In my class-based simulations, what happens is that you have the benefit of objectively disconnecting from the negotiation, right? It's just a scenario. You're playing a part and you're bringing your preparation and your skills to the conversation, but it's not really reflecting on you. If you've ever participated in a negotiation simulation, you'll have an idea of what I mean. It's not real. When we negotiate in the real world, we get tripped up because our minds keep telling us we shouldn't ask for more. If we do, we have to follow a set of strict rules to do so in a way that doesn't violate the social conditioning that we learned when we were little kids, especially if you grew up and learned that you needed to be humble and grateful and people pleasing. Now, this part of the workshop is probably the most important, and it's definitely the hardest part of negotiation for most women and historically marginalized folks. It's also completely ignored in the research done on negotiation. And just like entrepreneurship is dominated by men, research on negotiation is too. You see, research as an area of study is generally taught in business schools. And until about 50 years ago, women weren't even allowed in business schools. Even now, they only make up a portion of the faculty, certainly not 50%. And our needs certainly don't comprise half of the research. So what I cover in this workshop isn't something that you're going to find commonly discussed because very few people talk about this and very few people are working to advance knowledge in this area, even though it's critical to women business owners and historically marginalized business owners. So in this part of the workshop, I'm going to walk you through the 7 most common blind spots that women experience before and during negotiations. I can't stop you from having them, but my hope is that if you can see them, you can manage them. Quick reminder that in the show notes, you'll find links to the free and paid versions of the workbook that goes along with this course. The paid version is just $20 Canadian, and it comes with a set of templates and extra video content to help you prepare for your tough negotiations. In the introduction to this workshop, I shared my experiences as a university instructor. I said that women in my class actually do quite well in the negotiation simulation exercise once they get into it. I want to tell you a little more about that as I introduce the next topic, which is the blind spots that prevent us from even thinking about negotiating and which encourage limiting beliefs when we are in the middle of negotiations. So you see, in a simulation exercise, you have the benefit of objectively disconnecting yourself from a negotiation. After all, it's just a scenario. You're not actually Sally Soprano. Yes, that's actually the name of one of the characters in a common situation exercise that we use. You're playing a part and you're bringing your preparation and your skills to the conversation, but it's not actually reflecting on you or your business. But when we negotiate in the real world, we get tripped up because our minds keep telling us that we shouldn't negotiate. And if we do, we need to follow a very strict set of rules to do so in a way that does not violate the social conditioning that we learned when we were little girls. This section of the workshop is the most important and the hardest part of negotiation for women. It's also completely ignored by almost all the research done on negotiation. This is because, like entrepreneurship is dominated by men, negotiation as an area of study is generally taught in business schools. Until about 50 years ago, women weren't even allowed in business schools. And even now, they don't make up half the faculty. And our needs certainly don't comprise half of the research. So you're not going to find this in many places because very few people are working to advance knowledge in this area, but it is critical. So I'm going to walk you through the 7 most common blind spots that women experience before and during negotiations. Now, I can't stop you from having them, but I can help you see them and I can help you manage them. The first one is humility. To be clear, humility is a positive personality characteristic. People who know they're great and brag about how fantastic they are, they rub us the wrong way. But there's a special judgment that we apply to women who brag, right? We look down on them. We call them ambitious and confident, but not with love, with a nasty bite in our tone that sends a powerful message to the women around us, including the young women in our lives, that it's better to be small and humble than the opposite, which must mean audaciously proud and inappropriate. We learn this when we are young and we impose it on one another. Girls who brag are quickly shunned. This shameful compulsion to present ourselves as humble is actually a big problem in our business. It makes it hard for us to sell our products and services, and it makes it really hard to negotiate. Because being humble means we should be waiting to be noticed, and to be complimented, and by extension, offered what we deserve in a business agreement. We shouldn't dare to initiate a negotiation, and we should never ever declare that we are confident and capable and deserving of an improved agreement. No, we should be humble, remain small, wait to be noticed and rewarded. Humility prevents us from negotiating in the first place, but it also prevents us from providing logical rationale for why we're asking for particular benefits in a negotiation. If we can't comfortably share what makes us competent and valuable, then it becomes very difficult to secure a fair deal. So one of the exercises in the preparation portion of the course allows you to document your strengths and your wins. This is an important exercise that will help you to strike an objective balance in how you present your effectiveness and your value as an entrepreneur without overstepping your socialized compulsion to be humble. Most women go into business to make a difference. You can bet that people pleasing is one of the most common blind spots that we need to overcome. At its heart, people pleasing is about putting the needs of others ahead of our own. It's about self-sacrifice for the good of others. And it's very prevalent in service-based sectors. As little girls, we learn that it's polite to serve others first, to make others comfortable, to put their needs first. We are groomed to become gracious hostesses who obsess over presenting perfection in order to be socially acceptable, and more importantly, to be liked and to be valued. If you find yourself avoiding negotiation because you fear the other person would like you less if you ask for more, then you are struggling with people pleasing. If you find yourself in the middle of business negotiations and pull back on what you want because you don't want them to stop respecting you, yeah, this is one you need to work on. If you tell yourself that the other person will walk away from your business, talk behind your back, or respect and like you less if you engage in negotiation, I want to give you a serious reality check. Think about it from their perspective. If you're working with someone who will do anything to earn your business and gain your praise, how do you feel about them? Yes, you might be flattered, you might enjoy the good deal, but do you respect them? Your clients, your suppliers, and your partners will actually respect you more for negotiating objectively. They'll see you as an effective business owner, and they will grow in their confidence in their dealings with you when they know that you'll negotiate for what's fair. Being liked is something that we all desire, but to be respected is necessary for profitable business. Sometimes we can have both, but being liked guarantees nothing. So if this is one of the blind spots you struggle with, then I encourage you to use the mindset management tool to prepare and keep yourself on track in your negotiations. Generosity. To be called generous feels like a compliment. It's another way of gathering external validation for our self-worth. And to be fair, generosity is not a bad thing, but it's important to be deliberate and objective when it comes to how and where you share your generosity. Generosity can sometimes prevent us from negotiating. For example, if you know you're being underpaid, but it feels good to provide an affordable price to your client, and so you don't bother asking for more, that's a blind spot to watch out for. But generosity is one of the blind spots that likes to rear its ugly head when you're actually in a negotiation. Here's what happens. You prepare for your negotiation, you know what you want, you know what you're willing to negotiate, and you start out strong. But as the negotiation proceeds, you see that the other person is being receptive and offering you positive benefits. And so rather than sticking with your plan, which was probably very fair to begin with, you start improvising on the fly. You throw your plan out the window and start lowering your asks and increasing the value of what you're offering. You feel compelled to demonstrate that you too can be generous. And in doing so, you give away too much and complete the negotiation, often without achieving what you had planned on. So this is a tricky one because it comes up in the middle of negotiation conversations a lot of times. So you do have to pay attention to what's going through your mind. So if this sounds like you, then I have two recommendations. First, make sure you spend extra time on the prep exercises that help you identify the benefits that you want and the ones you think the other person is going to want. And second, focus on mindset management and make sure you develop a powerful statement that reminds you that generosity is already built into what you're offering, that you're already offering tremendous value just by doing your work. Gratitude. Gratitude is an important practice that really can help us to foster positive mental health and optimism, especially in times of difficulty. But within the context of negotiation, gratitude can be problematic. As a woman entrepreneur, you probably feel like an imposter, like you don't belong, right? And so you probably also have a strong sense of gratitude for any person or circumstance that contributes to your business. This is common, but it's especially prevalent with those clients, suppliers, and partners who were with you early in your business journey. With them, you probably feel like you owe an enormous debt of gratitude because they believed in you when you were just starting out. But this sense of gratitude is a really powerful force that can prevent you from negotiating with those business partners. And it affects you in negotiating with your new clients, but it really strongly affects you when you want to renegotiate with your original supporters. So if you struggle with this, I want to tell you something really important. You can be grateful and ask for more. Negotiation of better terms does not diminish your gratitude toward the people who keep you in business or toward those who helped you in the beginning. In fact, the best thing you can do to show your gratitude is to actually just be successful. And in business, that means raising your rates, renegotiating your contracts, and making good business decisions. So if this is something that you struggle with, then make sure you focus your preparation time on mindset management. Because while gratitude has many important benefits, you also need to assess how your sense of gratitude might be affecting your choices and maybe isn't serving you all that well when it comes to making good business decisions. Faith. I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. And so every time I talk about faith, that song by George Michael starts playing in my mind. Don't worry, I'm not going to suggest or subject you to me singing, but I do encourage you to pause this video, head over to YouTube, and enjoy a little musical interlude if you need a break. Now, George said, you've got to have faith, but I'm afraid I disagree with him. Having faith that everything is going to work out in your business if you just put your nose down and work hard is a blind spot that we've been taught to live since we were kids. Work hard and you'll be rewarded. People will notice, things will work out. If you've been in business for any length of time, you know that it's not just hard work, but also good decisions and hard conversations that are necessary for success. As women, we can often convince ourselves that good things will come. You might meditate or work on manifestation, and these are excellent practices to focus your mind. But you need to support that mindset work with action. Your clients will pay you more when you raise your prices. But until then, your reward for hard work is just going to be more hard work. Your partners and suppliers, they may follow through without a contract in place, but you won't be able to hold them to any specific terms without some form of written agreement. In negotiation, this blind spot is one that tricks you into thinking you don't have to do the uncomfortable work of negotiating. And if you make it through the negotiation, a sense of faith can trick you into thinking you don't need to document the agreement, that you'll both honor it because you're both honorable people. That's simply not true. It isn't enough to have faith. You also need to do the work to bring your dreams into reality. Now, I know that the idea of negotiating is uncomfortable, but by the end of this workshop, you will be armed with a brain full of valuable knowledge, and you'll have a whole folder of effective tools that you can use to put action behind your faith. What do you want? What would make you happy? Okay, these are really hard questions for most women to answer. And that's because you've been taught your whole life to focus on others and not yourself. You've been taught to be selfless because, well, the opposite is selfish, and you obviously don't want to be seen as selfish, right? So you tend to operate, we all do, at the minimum viable level, not asking for what you actually want. Instead, you just ask for what you need. And by that, I mean, you ask for the bare minimum of what you need. When I coach women entrepreneurs, they often say, if I were just able to get X, that would be good enough. Good enough is not enough. If you are going to go through the challenging experience of negotiating, don't come prepared with just one or two things that would be good enough for you. It's important to go in with a broad view of all of the things that you might negotiate for, all of the things that you want. In a negotiation, you're rarely going to get everything that you want. But if you come in only having identified a couple of most essential things, you're not leaving any room for the back and forth of an integrative negotiation. Women are often so focused on what their minimum level is for themselves that they forget that there are opportunities beyond those minimum benefits. And when you come into a negotiation and only have one thing that matters, well, you risk turning what should be an integrative, collaborative negotiation that's a great opportunity to build a relationship into a one-issue distributive negotiation, which is terrible for building relationships and getting what you want. So there are two things to pay attention to when you're preparing to overcome this myopia. And yes, of course, the negotiation toolkit is going to help you prepare for them. So first, make sure you identify lots of benefits, all the things that you want, all the dream things, and the things that you think the other person might want. And then second, for each of those benefits, make sure you understand the range. What would the ideal offer look like? And what is the minimum level that would be acceptable? The final value should come as no surprise. Throughout our lives, women are socialized to undervalue our contributions to our families, our work, and the world. So it's a natural blind spot that you need to be aware of as you begin to develop confidence and competence as a negotiator in your business. The feeling of unworthiness can compel you to stay small and behave in ways that really don't serve you. Feeling unworthy of being in business and making money, that prevents you from raising your rates and renegotiating for fair terms. And when you do make it to a negotiation, this feeling comes up whenever the other person raises an objection. For example, if you're negotiating a specific benefit and the other person says, no, I don't think I can make that work, you may take it as a rejection, a negative reflection of your value as a person and as a businesswoman, when in truth, it was probably just a benefit that the other person felt strongly about and wasn't prepared to give up without negotiation. But we've been socialized to be really sensitive and diminutive about our self-worth and our personal value. And so this blind spot, this one hurts, and it's going to come up almost every single time. Although you may always struggle with self-worth, the more that you negotiate, the more confident you're going to become in using the same words over and over again to present and defend your offers and ask for what you need. Improving your self-worth is a worthwhile venture for every woman. So within this program, you'll find the mindset management tool is a really effective one to help you prepare for your negotiation. The exercise that asks you to document your strengths and your wins is another terrific tool to help you remind you of your value. And if you need it, my pep talk can help to put you in the right mindset just before you enter the negotiation conversation. But I want you to know this is one blind spot that you will need to work on probably until you're 100 years old. Because you know what? You are more worthy than you think you are. And you deserve to know that. So now that we've gone through each of the most common blind spots, I want you to spend a few minutes on the next exercise in your workbook. Which of these blind spots do you struggle with the most? So take a moment and put stars beside your top 3 in your workbook. Now, the first step of overcoming these blind spots is learning about them, which you have now done. The second step is seeing them in your life and recognizing their impact on your behavior. So I'd like you to pick one of them to expand on. Think about a time when you were affected by one of these blind spots and write down all the details that you can remember about the situation. What was the situation? Who were you negotiating with? What did you hope to gain? How did the blind spot affect you? What did you do? And looking back now, what do you wish you had done? So take a few minutes, maybe set a timer for 5 minutes, pause this video, and journal on how that blind spot affected your experience in negotiating. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The more often you negotiate, the more confident you'll become. Part of the reason is because if you approach negotiation using the tools in this program, it's going to become easier. The more often you use the tools, the more you'll see the opportunity to negotiate for similar benefits over and over again. And when you use the mindset tool over and over, you'll start to identify which blind spots come up for you the most. Over time, you'll start seeing patterns in your self-talk. And when you see those patterns, you can disrupt them. I often encourage my clients to pick up a notebook that they can use exclusively for negotiations. And that's because the experience really evolves over time. We get better and better, but our perception of the experience seems the same. Our levels of fear and anxiety seem like they're the same, even though we are far more confident than we used to be. So by using a single notebook for all of your negotiation prep, you can look back and look at the benefits that you negotiated in the beginning. Look at how reserved you were when you first started negotiating. You'll also see your mindset work in play. And when you can look back and see that you were able to overcome negative self-talk in the past, it does help you feel more confident that you can do it this time around. So make sure you take advantage of the managing your mindset exercise in the negotiation toolkit. I do want to briefly walk you through it during the workshop, just so that you can see how it can be useful in dealing with those emotional blind spots, both in advance of and during the negotiation. So whenever you're preparing for negotiation, you do need to start with your thoughts and feelings because they're the foundation for your actions. So you begin by asking yourself, what am I feeling? Now with the negotiation, you might feel scared, insecure, inadequate, anxious, embarrassed, resentful, maybe shameful. All of these are totally normal depending on what you're thinking. And so that's the nature of the next question. What are you thinking? What's the story that you're telling yourself? Do you think that they'll reject you if you ask for more? Will they respect you or like you less? They laugh at you, tell you that they were just doing you a favor. Will they see through you and know that you're a fraud? What are you thinking? Because those thoughts are affecting your behavior. And so the next question really asks you to dig into that. How are they serving you or not serving you? How are they affecting your behavior? Are you avoiding negotiation? Are you downplaying your needs? Increasing your generosity in the moment? Are the thoughts actually helping you to become the successful entrepreneur that you want to be? And where are they coming from? So in most cases, they have nothing to do with the current situation. And if you journal long enough, you might recall a story from your childhood that shaped the thought that's plaguing you right now. But even if you don't have time to do that journaling, you need to ask whether this is a valid thought for this situation. Do you have evidence to support that thought? Or is it all coming from a sense of insecurity? So by now, you've probably relieved your uncomfortable feelings and you're ready to approach the rest of your preparation with a little bit more objectivity. But if not, if you're still holding on to a reluctance to negotiate, then there's one final question that you can use to ask yourself. And it's kind of a mean one, but if you were a man, how might you feel differently? This one hurts because it's usually strong enough to jolt you back into an awareness that most of your fears about negotiation have nothing to do with your value, your work, or your reputation. Most of your feelings are coming from your experience as a woman. Now, the final step in managing your mindset is to choose a powerful thought that you can believe. And whenever you feel those emotions coming back up in the negotiation, you can use that powerful thought to really focus your energy in a positive direction. So here are a few examples. You're welcome to use these and develop your own. The more money I make, the more good I can do in the world. I like this one. It's great if you're susceptible to generosity and giving away everything. So rather than leaving all of the wealth with the other people, use this thought to remind yourself that when you have more money, you get to direct it to the charitable organizations and local businesses that align to your values. I owe it to myself to negotiate effectively as a business owner. That is the truth. If you want to be in business, this is a responsibility of yours. Just like doing your taxes, paying your bills, meeting your deadlines, negotiation is just something you have to do. And so you might find this helpful when you struggle with humility, for example. My clients respect me and want to pay fair prices for my work. Okay, if you're a people pleaser or you struggle with way too much gratitude, this is a good reminder. Your clients don't want you to fail your business. They don't want you to not make enough money and have to close shop. They value what you offer and they want to pay a fair price so that you can continue offering it. Through negotiation, I strengthen relationships and build wealth. This is a reminder that integrative negotiation is an opportunity to build mutually beneficial relationships where each person works in collaboration to meet the other person's needs. So this is really powerful when you're blindsided by faith or myopia and you need a reason to negotiate. Now, these are just a few that I use regularly and often recommend them to my clients. But the mindset management tool offers you other suggestions, and I really do encourage you to make up your own. The important thing is to always ensure that your powerful thought is a believable one, because if it's believable, then it can help you to feel confident that you will really be able to spot and avoid your blind spots when it really matters.